We are all faced with great opportunities, brilliantly disguised as impossible situations. And there's always a door. That's how we evolve. And we have to see adversity and challenge from a greater level of consciousness, not the same consciousness that's created it.
We have therefore made the assessment that COVID-19 can be characterized as a pandemic.
When the body is liberated and you feel that elevated emotion, the stronger the emotion you feel from that breakthrough, the more you're going to pay attention to the image in your mind. And now you're beginning to brand new circuitry in the brain, and your body's being conditioned into a new future. And the stronger the emotion you feel, and the more you pay attention to the picture, the more you're conditioning the body over time to the future instead of the past. So now you keep knocking on that genetic door emotionally, then that emotion ultimately signals a new gene that upregulates that gene to produce better proteins. And the person then all of a sudden starts healing.
I'm Bruce Lipton, author of the best-selling books, The Biology of Belief, Spontaneous Evolution, and The Honeymoon Effect. I'm here just to provide a quick insight into the nature of the COVID-19 disease that is spreading globally at this moment. In the news media, we're being hyped with a lot of information about the aggressive nature of this disease, and specifically that it is a fatal disease. Well, I'm here to try to alleviate some of that issue because it's not really a true insight of what is going on. So before I start, very quickly, what I'd like to say is, what is a virus? Well, in the biology of belief, we define that a cell is actually an information processing mechanism. It's a chip, and it's got a hard drive in it. The nucleus has got programs from genes, and significance, and the cell is like a computer. I say, so well, when looking and understanding the nature of the computer is simply this. There's a memory built into the computer that runs the program. But there's something also called a memory stick or a flash drive. And the memory stick is not a computer. It has no function other than it carries a memory. And when it plugs into the cell, the virus, or the memory stick in this case, puts its program into the computer. And the memory stick program can take over the function of this computer. So what is a virus? Well, the virus is the equivalent of this memory stick. It has no life, it has no metabolism, it's just a protein capsule containing genetic programs that when infecting your cell will take over the function of that cell and cause the replication of the virus. So, what's the issue with this year's coronavirus? And the answer is simply this. Every year we have a flu season, and every year a virus comes and we catch a cold, and there are symptoms that range every year in the flu from simple sniffles or sneezing to actual death. So every year, 0.1% of the population in the United States is actually negatively affected by a flu to the extent that they will actually die. It's a very small population. And it's not a general population, it's a population that primarily consists of older people in nursing care and those people who have health compromising issues in their life that influence their immune system. So it's not the general population that goes to the lethal end of the flu. Most of the population just has symptoms that might be very simple through a respiratory issue. Well, why is this new virus such a problem? And the answer is this. In the annual flu viruses, these are the same viruses that come around every year and are altered from one year to the next by a slight mutation, which then makes them more infective than they were in a previous year. So the significance is conventional flu viruses have been running around in the human population for decades. And so most of us have built up some immunity to characteristics of these flu viruses, so that even a mutated virus that will show up next year for the next year's flu will have cross-reactivity with viruses we've already dealt with. So we can alleviate the symptoms of flu by having immunological memory of previous flu infections. What's different in this one is the coronavirus that is now affecting the human population has never been in the human population before, so none of us have any pre-existing immunity to this particular virus. Point, we're all susceptible to getting the virus and having the flu. Yet, something's a little more different about it because without any previous experience, this virus is more aggressive than previous viruses. More people are going to get it because of lack of previous exposure, and as a result, also the symptoms can be much greater. So that we're finding in the current coronavirus, symptoms may range from nothing more than sneezing and coughing to full-blown respiratory problems. Now, the important part is this: yes, there's always a population that will succumb to this virus. Every year it's 0.1%. This year it's going to be a little bit higher. Why? Because there are still people in that same cohort that will get the virus, but have a worse response because of no previous exposure to this virus. So yeah, who are the people that will die from this virus? Well, they're essentially the same group of people that die every year from the same kind of flu virus, and that is those that are elderly and under hospital care or nursing care, and those whose immune systems are already compromised.
And what if they started thinking differently? They started making different choices. They started doing different things. If they start creating new experiences, if they start feeling different emotions, will there be changes in their biology? And without a doubt, we have evidence to show that, wow, you can signal new genes, you can strengthen your immune system, you can make your brain work better, you can make your heart work better, you can lengthen your life. You know, we have all this, you could get happier. We have all this data that shows scientifically that people are really changing on a fundamental level.
Yeah.
Because it is new information when they have all those new things happen to them. They're not being the same person. And if we study that over the course of a week, some people change fundamentally to such a degree that the disease or the condition that they showed up with as the old person is completely gone, because they're not the same person any longer, because they are thinking differently, they are acting differently, and they are feeling differently. And how you think and how you act and how you feel is your personality. And your personality is intimately connected to your personal reality. So the disease exists in the old personality. This person is somebody else.
We're all going to essentially get this virus because we hadn't had it before. A few percent are going to get very serious respiratory issues. But let me stop right there for this point, because those respiratory issues from the coronavirus are easily treatable by the medical profession. Using ventilators and respiratory drugs, we can handle them. Then the ones who die are still the same group, the same cohort of the immunologically compromised individuals. So for the average person, we will get a flu, no doubt about it. Will we die from that flu? Not if we take care of ourselves, no. So an important insight is this: while we all will be liable to getting the infection, the severity of that infection depends on the health of our immune system.
When you're traumatized, some threat or some danger or some condition in your outer world, through your senses, is changing how you feel in your inner world. And the quotient of change between the way you normally feel in some alarm state, when you change your internal state and move into that emergency mode, you narrow your focus on the cause, and the brain freezes an image and takes a snapshot, and that's called a long-term memory. And now that image is branded holographically into the brain. So then we remember experiences better because we can remember how they feel, and that memory then changes the person's biology. So they think neurologically within the circuits of that experience, and they feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions, and how we think and feel becomes our state of being.
When we start to hear the news and the fears and the threats that are keeping bombarding us from the media, we're naturally starting to release stress hormones. And as we release these stress hormones, we compromise our own health. So a very important insight into this thing is this: it is not lethal for almost the entire population, a small percent of the population. And in fact, it looks like right now, less than 1% of the population is going to be affected by this in a sense of dying, mortality. So my message is very clear and very simple. Most of us are going to get this virus, that's a fact. Do we have to have extreme problems with this virus? I say no. If we take care of ourselves, as I said, take care of your physiology and your consciousness. Be happy. Stop focusing on the fear, which is self-creating the stress hormones.
And there's always a door. That's how we evolve. And we have to see adversity and challenge from a greater level of consciousness, not the same consciousness that's created it. Otherwise, we fall victim to our environment, to rise to a different level of awareness and to believe in possibility. And when we do, of course, it awakens an innate capacity in us to be greater.
you.